Back at Michigan International Speedway, getting ready to go to green in about 15 minutes, 250 miles, 125 laps, following a number of storylines on the track today. If you're looking for the series points leader, Reed Sorensen, look for him not in the car you've been used to him in. That would be the 32 car. Instead, look for him in the 30 car this weekend.
And Brad Keselowski has home field advantage. He's a former winner here. That's good news. But the great news is that he's very happy with his car in practice.
Brad Keselowski is last year's Nationwide Series championship. And how about this guy, Aric Almirola, trying to win his first championship. He is the best qualifying title contender in this race today. He'll start fourth.
Elliott Sadler told me they discovered a package at Chicagoland that's going to carry them through the summer months. It wouldn't surprise me to see he and the 2 team in victory lane today.
And you know what? You cannot have a race, Ricky, without a little bit of pomp, circumstance, and a little bit of pageantry. So let's go down trackside for all of the events.
Presenting our nation's colors this afternoon, the Warren Lincoln High School Junior ROTC. And now from Lumen Christi High School in Jackson, Michigan, delivering our invocation, Father Jeff Rose.
Almighty God, we thank you for another glorious day here at Michigan International Speedway. We humbly ask you for continued good weather that we might enjoy this whole race. And as these drivers and teams give us everything they've got, we ask you to keep them safe. And we ask this all through Christ our Lord. Amen.
And now, once again, Grammy-nominated and award-winning recording artist Emerson Drive with our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
I'll tell you what, there are far worse places to be and far worse things to see on this day before Father's Day as we get ready to go racing in Michigan. Drivers saying goodbye to their loved ones and getting a few last-minute words of advice from crew chiefs. Will we continue to see the trend? Will Nationwide drivers continue to break through to victory lane, or will Cup regulars, Nationwide crashing, continue to do their streak as well? More from Michigan as we get close to green next.
ESPN's coverage of the NASCAR Nationwide Series on ABC. Brought to you by Nationwide Insurance. Nationwide is on your side.
Maybe we'll see a little bit of that later on today, but on the racetrack. It's the flyover part 2 from Michigan International Speedway. We're about 10 minutes away from the green flag. And I'll tell you what, Alan, we've had a lot of storylines just to talk about during Countdown. I can only imagine the list of things you've got to talk about during this race today.
Nicole, everything you've talked about in Countdown, everything that we've been talking about up here among ourselves all day long, leads us to believe this is going to be a fun race.
This will be a fun race. This racetrack here in Michigan, Alan, is very, very wide. And because of that, they always seem to run 3 and 4 wide all the way around this racetrack. Now, this is the second time here for this new Nationwide design car. Because of that, I think these guys got them handling better, and they're going to run tighter yet.
Another thing is this new car is a lot bigger, so the drafting is going to be more effective. And like you said, they have learned a lot about these cars by being here the second time with them. It's going to be a lot of fun, Al.
The last race at Chicago had a real twist at the end of it, a fuel mileage drama that played out. Justin Allgaier won that race. Well, there's a trend here at Michigan. of fuel mileage finishes over the years. This racetrack doesn't see a lot of cautions. Add on top of that a trend this season where there are fewer cautions in each race. Andy, fuel mileage talked about by the crew chiefs since before we got here. As you get into a race like this as a crew chief and as a driver, how does it affect you?
Well, Alan, what you do is you see those trends and then you start basically calculating percentages. What it's going to take to win the race. You look at the end of the race and work backwards. And if you get in one of those windows with where you can make it on one or maybe two pit stops, you're going to try to stretch it. You're going to try to be planning way ahead so you can stay in front of it.
You know, as a driver, I'm really relying on what the crew's trying to tell me, but I know going into the race, this race here, it's got a window of about 41 to 44 laps that I could run on fuel. And I got that in my head. But I'm also, if the the crew chief comes across and said, hey, man, save some fuel, I'm going to go into slow down mode. I'm going to be getting out of the throttle early. I'm going to be really thinking about my fuel mileage. It's
and you're going to be hating it too, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. I'll be hating it, Alan, because, I just want to run fast, man. I don't want to save gas.
It may be a big story at the end of this race. Fuel mileage, we'll see how it plays out today at the end of 250 miles at Michigan. As the week developed, there were showers in the forecast, but that forecast is cleared up. We've got gorgeous weather on hand for today. All we need now is for these cars to start burning some fuel.
And now, race fans, it is time for the command. Please re-welcome your Grand Marshal Ron Zapax as he delivers the most famous words in motorsports.
Drivers, start your engines. Let's go racing.
Gotta copy you. Crank it up on Barno. Yeah, I think we're going to wait a minute there. Okay, 10-4.
Time to go racing here today at Michigan, 250 miles on this 2-mile track. Last time the Nationwide Series raced was 2 weeks ago today. It was a night race at Chicagoland Speedway, and that young man, Illinois native Justin Allgaier, went to victory lane. Justin is our in-race reporter. We talk to him as the cars roll off on the pace laps next. Last time the NASCAR Nationwide Series race, Chicagoland Speedway. A couple of weeks ago, last lap, Carl Edwards leading out of fuel in the 60. Justin Allgaier by him for the lead. Then he runs out of fuel, but he has enough momentum to coast to the finish line ahead of Carl Edwards and all the other people that were running out of gas. Justin Allgaier, the most recent race winner in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. Justin is our in-race reporter for the day, and as we show you the starting lineup for the race across the top of the screen, let's dial him up, Rusty.
Justin Allgaier, Rusty Wallace, ESPN, you got us?
Yeah, Rusty, go ahead.
Justin, we got an ESPN mailbag question for you. It comes from Michael in Mercer, Pennsylvania. The question is, how did your win in Chicago affect your team's morale? Do you have more confidence now that you can win the championship?
Well, thanks for the question, Michael. It's been huge for the whole team. Anytime you can get a victory, especially nowadays in this Nationwide Insurance Series, it's really huge. But to be able to back up the win that Mark had earlier in the year really means a lot. I know we brought the same car back. We got death finishes on the hood this weekend, so hopefully we can get a good finish for them and just have another solid finish.
Buddy, we're hearing you've been pretty sick all week long. How are you feeling right now? You good to go for this race?
I'll tell you, it's been a tough week, but the medical staff here at the Infield Care Center treated me really well and got me some fluids and a little bit of medicine. So I feel really good. And Rusty, as you know, anytime you get back in the race car, you always feel great once you get behind the wheel. So hopefully we can get rid of this week the bad sickness by getting a victory and make it all feel better.
Well, man, sounds like you got some good medicine going on there back in that car. Hey, now Andy's going to speak to your crew chief, Jimmy Elledge.
Well, thank you. I want to wish a happy Father's Day out there to all the dads. It's a big weekend, so happy Father's Day to my dad and all the other dads out there.
Hey, Jimmy Elledge, Andy Petrie, you got us?
Yeah, Andy, I got you.
Jimmy, great job last 2 weeks ago at Chicago getting that win, and we're at another big track. Fuel mileage could come into play. How do you feel about it?
Well, definitely fuel mileage has been, something that's played into the key finishes of some of these races this year for sure. But, yeah, this definitely is good, could present the opportunity, as well as Chicago did and as well as Vegas did. So, we're looking forward to that opportunity, but we're just hoping that it ends up being on the marks that we're looking for. Fuel mileage ain't quite as good as what it was in practice, from where we were Chicago-wise. But, we just got to get a couple runs in here and really get it calculated and see where it's at.
Okay, Jimmy, maybe you can beat them the old-fashioned way, just outrun them. Good luck today.
Thank you, guys.
Jimmy Elledge getting ready to call the shots for Justin Allgaier today as they get set to try and pursue a second consecutive win. Allgaier carrying one of our 8 high-definition onboard cameras for this afternoon's Michigan race. Elliott Sadler, the One Main Financial camera, starting in 6th. Sam Hornish Jr. on the front row with the Alliance Truck Parts camera. Trevor Baines got our Ford on board back in 7th spot. Kyle Busch with the Pizza Ranch camera in 12th position. We talked about Allgaier. He's carrying our Craftsman on board today, starting in 13th. The Nationwide Insurance cameras on board with Jason Leffler. He's in 22nd. Carl Edwards has got the Fastenal camera in the inside of row number 2. And the 5-hour energy camera with Stephen Wallace starting in 14th position today. They'll give us some great looks of this Michigan 250-miler. Reports from pit road as we get ready to go green in another lap. Let's start with Shannon.
Well, have you ever wondered what it would be like to play a sport against your childhood hero? Well, for many in the field, that's exactly what it's like racing against Mark Martin. He is the series all-time wins leader with 49 wins and only racing in the Nationwide Series 4 times this year. While Mark admitted that this car is on the loose side, there is no reason to think he can't get win number 50 here today. Dr. Jerry Punch?
Well, here's a couple of important numbers to remember for Kyle Busch. 48, that's the number of total wins he has in the Nationwide Series. 1 more and he ties Mark Martin. And how about 0? That's the number of times a Toyota, which is what Kyle is driving today, has won a nationwide race here at Michigan. And that's why crew chief Jason Ratcliffe decided to go with a radically different setup, something they've never used before. He said, you know, we could be better or not. Time will tell. Dave Burns.
Hey, Doc, you know, it's a good thing that the Nationwide Championship doesn't care which car you drive. That's because today, points leader Reed Sorensen is not in his familiar yellow number 32. Mark Martin's driving that. He is in the number 30 orange car, sponsored by Rexall. But he says, let's not worry about that too much. I've been with this group from Turner Motorsports 2 other occasions this year. Our communication is very good, and we don't think we'll see any fall off today, racing the 30 instead of the 32. Mike Massaro?
Dave, for much of the race in Chicagoland 2 weeks ago, it appeared Elliott Sadler was on the verge of a breakthrough victory. He led 29 laps, but a late race flat tire spoiled his chances. I spoke with Sadler moments before he buckled in today, and he told me a win this afternoon would be a, quote, relief. He knows there are lofty expectations on his shoulders. He's not only looking for his first win this year, but his first Nationwide Series win dating back to 1998. Alan?
All right, Mike, thanks. Sean Pete, the Jackman for Mark Martin, is carrying our over-the-wall camera today. Sean, we'll keep an eye on you today. Be safe and have a good day.
Thanks, guys.
Our Goodyear track facts as we get set to go for this race in Michigan. It's going to be 125 laps to make up the 250 miles, and there's the big number.
Yeah, the pit window is a big thing here. 41 to 44 laps is what we think they can go if they run as fast as they can go, but we've heard they can stretch that about 20% if they have to.
And our broadcast today available in Spanish by activating your SAP button. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. It's time to go racing at Michigan. Green flag. Paul Menard chose to start on the outside lane. He's in that neon green car with a big red ball on the hood. That's Sam Hornish Jr. to his inside in the 12, racing for the lead.
How about that 12 car and the horsepower under the hood, Rusty? Down the back straightaway, pulling that Chevrolet.
No, we talked about it earlier. About right here, horsepower is going to be really big at this particular track, and the Dodge is really looking strong right now. But those 2 cars in the front, I mean, the Chevrolet of Paul Menard was on the pole with a lot of power right there. We always know that Roger Penske's cars make big power under the hood of those Dodges, Andy. Good point, though.
Stenhouse taking that 6 car down to the bottom lane. Sometimes these cars, the way that they drive through the corner, it looks like the driver's just almost... he's chipping down the banking. You know, you see front back, front back, front back.
I think they are. I think that's exactly what it's going to be. The cars are so loose that they're trying to, keep the back end under the car and keep speed, and that's how they do that. They just have to keep making minor corrections, because if you overcorrect, you're in big trouble.
We're talking about loose. A lot of these guys are really loose in qualifying, and they got to get to the first pit stop right now to make some big adjustments to these cars if they do get loose. And I got a feeling now there's several of them not handling like they did yesterday.
Yeah, you see that big bump right past the start-finish line. We saw it qualifying. That was upsetting the car some. I think it'll come into play if you see them get 3 and 4 wide.
Yeah, I think if they get 3 and 4 wide and they get on the very bottom of the track coming through the start-finish line, past the start-finish line,
kind of like this.
Yeah, they might tear some stuff up, especially with this low air pressure they got, Andy. Could tear up that left front splitter.
Talked about the draft these new Nationwide Series cars make at this racetrack. You just saw Carl Edwards use it to get by Menard and Hornish and grab the lead.
And you see how they draft right back up to Carl on the straightaway. Not able to really stretch it on him.
Yeah, I think the draft right here in these particular Nationwide cars is going to really show up big time. Look at Elliott Sadler really catching his teammate Paul Menard down the front straightaway. You got to remember, these cars make a lot less horsepower than the Cup cars that we generally watch a lot.
That's why it makes this draft so much more important, because they have that lack of power.
Wow, Allgaier.
Contact there.
Looked like Allgaier in the 31, the bright orange car, right side of your screen. Might have scraped it up a little bit on the safer barrier there, coming off 2.
These cars are tough, though. They'll take a lot of abuse.
You just don't want to use the cars up too early, but that's one great thing we talked about. Look at this 2 and 3 wide racing we talked about in our right before the race started, Alan, about what's going to be exciting. And this is what we're going to see throughout the day, this 2 and 3 wide racing. It happens all the time in Michigan. But you know one thing? I didn't count on the draft being so important here, and we're seeing that right now.
I'm seeing that draft being more effective than ever here at this track.
Edwards out in front in the 60, the race for second. The guys that started on the front row still side by side. Hornish and Menard in 12 and 33. Now let's go back and dig up who it was that scraped it up off the wall, off turn 2.
Oh, it's Kyle Busch. Like Kyle got into it a little bit, and it kind of bottled everybody up behind.
Take a look at that. I mean, late on exit where he got so loose. Just look at Justin Allgaier right along with here. Hey, Justin in the wall also.
Checking up here. Deep to the bottom, come on.
Now, guys, what happens there, they're on the banking coming off of turn 2. Then the back straightaway really flattens out big time, as you can see in this picture here. And they lose that side force. They get really loose. And that generally happens early in a run, Andy, when the pressures aren't up and you're trying to get some temperature built up in the tires.
And you've got a lot of cars in that group, and it really does disturb the air.
Side by side, Mark Martin 32, Allgaier 31. This is going to be for the 9th and 10th positions. Mark made an interesting comment when we interviewed him on Countdown, talked about how he'd set his car up for an overcast day. Weather forecast did call for as much as a 60% chance of showers during race time earlier in the weekend. Now that's down to a 10% chance of an isolated shower. Now the sun is out, it's beaten down on the racetrack.
Well, the cars are somewhat adjustable, and you know, there's some things that you can't change, the springs and shocks and that sort of thing. So they kind of had that set up maybe for a little tighter racetrack. They do have some adjustments available to them. They'll use them on these first pit stops to get his car maybe dialed in a little bit better. But I think Mark will be just fine.
Yeah, I think he will too. You got to remember the conditions are the same for everybody, but you know, when you have overcast skies, you just have more grip. And when you've got more sun and the track's hotter, the just flat, slippery are out there. And I got to believe, Alan, that's what Mark's talking about mostly, that, you know, he was setting up for more of a grippier racetrack.
Might be a little more slippery than Sam Hornish is set up for at the moment. He slipped back from racing for second spot with Paul Menard to now racing for 4th and 5th. That is Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in the 6th, side by side with him. Stenhouse driving one of those Roush Fenway Racing Fords in this race. So important to Jack Roush.
Oh, man, I tell you, with the big 3 being here around the Detroit area, Jack Roush is one guy that wants to beat those Toyotas and beat the Chevrolets really bad.
How about that move? You see Kyle Busch really dive in the corner, past 2 cars, and then they come back on him like that. That's this track. You can, you know, so inviting to drive that car down in the corner. But, boy, you got to get the car off the corner to be fast.
Well, I know one thing, and you've seen that several times, and you can really bomb them down into the bottom of turn 3 pretty deep. But once you get it down there, you really bog those cars up, and that momentum goes away. And take a look at the 18 car. He's on the top of the track with all that momentum, and you see him going past Sam Hornish now using that.
That'll pick up the 5th position for Kyle Busch. Hornish back to 6th after starting on the front row. Early notes, Michael Annett had to drop to the back of the field after having to change engines between qualifying and the race. Also, David Stremme went to the back of the field for an unapproved post-impound adjustment. And we've had a few cars pull off and head to the garage early. We will update you on those after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
Watch Lisa Edge, weekends on News Channel 15.
Live coverage of the Alliance Truck Parts 250 for the NASCAR Nationwide Series from the Michigan International Speedway. This afternoon, pretty early in the going, Carl Edwards out in front in that 60 car. Took the lead just a couple of laps into the race and has held it ever since. He's out in front by 0.7 of a second. On today's pole-sitting driver, Paul Menard, there's the gap between first and second. Now, the driver in that 2, Elliott Sadler, has been the fastest on the track of late.
Yeah, he's running the really high line. I was watching 2, 3, and 4 earlier. Looks like he's going to try the low line on Paul because Paul is occupying that space. But he's fast. He's coming. I've watched the lap times. He's fastest car on the track the last 4 or 5 laps.
Well, this team has really picked it up of late. I mean, that performance that Elliott had last week, a couple weeks ago at Chicago, was very impressive. He ran awful strong. Then late in the race, he had to make a stop for a problem with his car. But this Kevin Harvick team has really got it going right now. Paul Menard on the pole today. Elliott running good also. Seems like they've really hit on something.
Yeah, I talked to Elliott at Chicago, and he was very optimistic about how they were going to do there, and they did run real well. They had a chance to win. And he said that they've done some things. They went down a few roads that were the wrong way to go. They really like the direction they're going now, and he's very confident they're going to pick up a win soon here.
So when you say went down a road, car construction, chassis setups, a little bit of everything?
Well, he didn't get specific, but it can be anything. You see him getting a little bit free right there off the corner. But it can be anything from aero to these chassis setups. There's so many ways to skin this cat these days, really. I mean, that you can do all kinds of combinations. And you try them, and sometimes you have to race them to see how they're going to work in the long run. And when you find one that works, great. But you find a lot of them that don't in the meantime.
Race here for 5th and 6th. That position just changing hands. Sam Hornish in the 12, back by Kyle Busch in the 18. Update on both drivers. We start with Dave Burns.
Of course, the 12 car of Sam Hornish started in the inside of the front row, but in the second position. He's now back to 5th. That car is loose. Unfortunately, it's the exact same thing they were fighting in practice. Crew Chief Chad Walters said that was their main issue. They tried to get it out of the car. Apparently, it's still there. Dr. Punch, how is Kyle Busch doing?
Well, we showed you about a handful of laps ago that Kyle Busch got up and scraped the wall early in the race, but here's a discussion as to what exactly happened. Listen in.
These idiots have no sense of aerodynamics. No, the 88 thinks he's got a flat. He said he got really loose right there, right under you.
That 88 was Eric Almirola, got beneath the left quarter panel of Kyle Busch, got him up, got him loose, scraped the wall. The good news is Kyle Busch says the car seems to be okay as far as damage is concerned, but it is not holding the corner and not turning well at the front and not holding with the rear. Let's check in with Mike Massaro.
And Doc, Tony Eury Sr. and the 88 team have been monitoring the situation on the 88 car very closely in regards to that potential left rear tire going down. They did get a little bit of contact. They feel like that fender may be rubbing just a little bit. The car had been loose, but it is getting better, so they're not concerned right now that the tire is actually going down.
I'm Mike Thanks as we watch Ricky Stenhouse Jr. go by Paul Menard for 3rd, and then Menard draft right back up on him.
Yeah, I feel like I'm watching a race at Daytona, how many cars are out there drafting. And as we watch some of these cars, I'm actually looking out the window of the booth here, and I'm seeing them bump draft down the back straightaway. So a lot of drafting going on with these engines and these cars, because remember, these things don't have much power.
All right, so let's settle back in for a second. Let's go back and show you what happened to Eric Almirola in that 88 car. As you see David Stremme in the 70 go by him for a spot.
It was early in the race when they were really everybody was bottled up. You see Kyle Busch get against the wall. There's where the contact came from when he's trying to avoid Kyle coming off the wall.
And that's why those yellow Goodyear letters and logos are rubbed off the side of the left rear of that 88 car.
It looked like he got into the side of Trevor Bayne. I don't know if Trevor's got any damage on the right side of his car.
You know, Andy, one thing I'm wondering about, I mean, the tire doesn't appear to be flat on the 88 car. It seems to be in okay shape. Looks like it got rubbed a little bit, but I'm just wondering if this car is just flat that loose to start this race. And he's lost so much ground right now.
I talked to a lot of the crew chiefs, Rusty, down in the garage, and it seems like they go through all these practice sessions. They get their car just like they want it, and then they go start the race, and almost always the cars are really loose. They have a hard time really getting the cars tight enough. Everybody does, to have a really good car. But what happens later in this race, the cars do tighten up, and then they need the car freer. But getting to that point is really difficult for some of these teams.
I'm hearing exactly the same thing you're saying. The trend all along with this newer design car that NASCAR's got now versus the old car, it seems like they just get looser. Now the older car, the track would cool down, you burn some fuel off the back. It seemed like you start pushing the front end. And that was the trend all through the older days also, but man, not nowadays.
And that's what's happening right now. We heard Elliott Sadler after qualifying saying his car was just way too loose to challenge Paul Menard for the pole, but Paul was on the pole. He led it a little bit early. It was fast, and now it's kind of the table's kind of turned, and here are the two cars coming chasing down Carl Edwards for the lead.
While we were getting the updates on Hornish and Busch, Elliott Sadler passed Paul Menard for second. He's closing in on Carl Edwards for the lead early at Michigan. The Alliance Truck Parts 250 from Michigan coming your way live. Make sure to go to NASCAR.com for all your latest NASCAR information. For all of you heavy-duty truck drivers with a commercial CDL, time to play the Alliance Truck Parts Watch to Win game. Text PARTS to 68683 within 250 seconds for your chance to win an all-expense-paid VIP trip to the Homestead Miami race in November, plus a prize pack worth over $500. Then go to AllianceTruckParts.com/racing on Monday, June 20th, and see if you are a winner. Good luck.
So the clock's running, right? 250 seconds.
Clock has been ticking on Carl Edwards' lead as Elliott Sadler has pursued him, but he hasn't been able to go by him yet, so still the top two, the 60 and the 2, as we are about to complete the 27th lap.
They both want that same line. Looks like they're all both running real high. And we saw Elliott Sadler take a look on the inside, but not able to make the pass and get clear, so he's kind of fell in line and kind of stalking Carl Edwards.
You know, watch these cars running, Alan. The track looks awful flat from the driver's point of view inside the car. You get in the corner, you're trying to lean on that banking, and it's not there. And this is one of the tracks that only has 18 degrees of banking. Why am I saying all this? Because when you get in there and no banking, it's really hard to pass a car when you lose the banking. That's the reason that Elliott is just sitting there following this 60. Can't see him get up to him. It's just cars don't handle when you have a flatter style racetrack like this with these high speeds.
Now Elliott Sadler is one who has moved up in the early going. The double two, Brad Keselowski, who has won the last two of these Michigan Nationwide races, has fallen back, Dave.
And our defending series champion, Alan. And today the car has been very, very loose. He's gone backwards about 5 positions since the start. And the crew chiefs usually suggest things the drivers can do to help their race car. Listen.
Guys are running 80s behind you. You can play with your blowers if it helps you here. Boy, there ain't no blower that's going to fix me. 10-4. We're working on it.
And the suggestions from the crew chief are not always employed by the driver. Brad needs some big adjustments. I think they're going to do the big 3, wedge, track bar, and air pressure when he hits pit road here sometime around lap 35 or 37, we're hearing, Alan.
He had his hands full right there coming up off the corner.
Yeah, when you hear that from the driver, he says that changed what he was going to do to the car. He says, okay, he's really loose. We've got to make multiple changes on this next stop.
Let's talk about that pit stop schedule. We talked earlier about the window being 41 to 44 laps. We also talked about teams being able to stretch that if they have to, but this first run of the race will be considerably shorter.
Yeah, the last time they put fuel in these cars was before qualifying when they went through tech. They did the qualifying laps. Then they have to do the warm-ups. They have to do the pace laps before the race, and those don't count. So this first stop does come quite a bit earlier than what their full tank run would take them.
In last year's race, first one at this track with this car, it came at lap 30, the first of the green flag stops. Where we are now, we're hearing it may be more like 32 to 35, but it won't be long before we see these guys hitting pit road.
I got a feeling last year when they were stopping at lap 30, they were just a little scared. They didn't know how far they could go with this new car, but we talked earlier in the broadcast that if they had to go as far as they could possibly go, once they got a fuel tank and in the race, they can probably approach 47, 48 laps, and you're hearing they might even go farther yet.
Well, if you had to stretch it, you'd have to slow down and lose a lot of speed to do it. But you could stretch that fuel quite a bit by backing off the gas. All the tricks we heard Ricky Craven and you guys talking about in Countdown, there are ways to stretch that fuel, but you can't really make a lot of speed when you're doing that.
Trevor Bayne around Justin Allgaier, and the Daytona 500 winner up to the 9th position now. Bayne started the race in 7th spot, dropped back a little bit in the opening shuffle, and then...
Man, that 12 car looked loose on the straightaway.
It almost looked like he's got a flat tire. As loose as he was on the straightaway, like you said, Andy, but maybe that shot was a little farther back off of turn 2. He's got a last glimpse of that or something.
That's 5th and 6th positions. Menard there going by Hornish, and Sam barely hanging on. I wonder if there was contact between the two or if Sam was just wrestling the car to keep there from being contact.
Well, Sam didn't run it really low through 1 and 2. It looks like he's trying. He needs that lane. He needs that extra, 10 feet to the wall to be able to hold on to his car, and he didn't have it, so he had to back off.
I don't know what it looked like from where Sam sat, but it was pretty cool from here.
He's not giving up, though. He's still chasing down. Here comes Keselowski down pit road.
All the way down here. The 87 should be in his box up here.
He's pitting early because his car's not driving well.
55-mile-an-hour speed limit on pit road today. There he is, Dave.
And here he comes. Let's watch the wrenches go in the rear window. Certainly fuel going in. That is a big deal today. We've already talked about that. Not only the mileage you run, but getting that tank full. Looks like I didn't see the track bar adjustment. I do see the wedge adjustment going on. And certainly air pressure for Brad Keselowski. He's off pit road here on lap 32.
I'm like you, Dave. I didn't see enough wrenches in the rear window for as loose as that car was. They made look like a one-round wedge adjustment in the left rear.
Just makes you wonder if they did all their adjustments through the air pressure settings so they could save some time by not messing with the bolts and nuts in their car, and it could have been that.
One of the great difficulties of these Michigan races, because first of all, it's a pretty short race, 250 miles. Historically, you don't get many cautions. You only get a couple of cracks at adjusting the car. But the time you lose on a green flag pit stop, you don't want to take the extra time to make those adjustments.
It is a double-edged sword. You don't want to sit there and lose time. But, early in the race, like we are now, you almost have to, if you're as bad as Keselowski was that first run, you have to bite the bullet and just make that adjustment, no matter if it does take a little longer.
Alan, you talked about losing time. Another thing really important here in Michigan, it's got one of the longest pit roads out there. And the race car drivers, they've really got to nail their pit road speeds. They got to take advantage of everything, getting to the entry of the pits, making their stop, getting out of the pits, because if you don't do that, I mean, I've looked at some of the times that these guys have lost, some of them almost 8 seconds, just not being aggressive coming down that pit road.
Watching the race for fifth, Paul Menard 33, Sam Hornish Jr. in 12. They started on the front row together, not missing anything up front. Carl Edwards still leading Elliott Sadler by 0.2 of a second. They're 3 seconds ahead of Kyle Busch, who runs in third. There's a check on the leaders. So we should start to see all of these guys heading to pit road very shortly.
Really does feel like you feel my right rear tire. Probably used it too much. It's kind of going away from me. Okay, 10-4, just take care of it.
All right, Elliott Sadler relaying information to crew chief Ernie Colt.
Yeah, just trying to take care of that right rear tire. That's why he's not really pushing the issue with Carl Edwards right now.
These pit stops are coming up right now for some of these cars that are off. And just like you said, Alan, not many pit stops probably going to happen. If they make an adjustment, in my opinion, they need to make a big one. Not just a little tiny one, but hit it pretty big to try to fix the thing right away, because you might not have many other stops.
Blake Cook has been on pit road. Jeremy Clements is on pit road. The championship leader, Reed Sorensen, is heading off the track onto the pit lane while we watch Carl Edwards and Elliott Sadler continue to run 1 and 2. Different look for Reed Sorensen today, but he's in, Dave.
And it's funny, Alan, the pit sign still only says DG, Dollar General, which is on the car this weekend, and the traditional yellow colors. He'll get, looks like an air pressure adjustment only for the 30 car. He can't get back to the gas. Very loose on this run for points leader Sorensen. Fuel going in from Sunoco. They'll try to top it off as much as they can. And he is in the way. Michael Annett on pit road as well. Remember, Michael started at the rear of the field. Engine change for him has made his way forward. 4-tire change for Annett. The 12 of Sam Hornish is in. Hornish has said, I was sliding to the front of the car a little, and I need a little throttle security. But just what you guys were talking about, crew chief Chad Walter said we're only going to make an air pressure adjustment to minimize the time on pit road. Not so for Justin Allgaier. They've already made a chassis adjustment. He'll get a 4-tire change. Allgaier was running in the 10th position during this run before everyone started pitting. He gets chassis adjustments on both sides, Doc.
Kyle Busch started 12th, running third, so they just absolutely lack overall grip. The car will not turn in the middle of the corner, and the back end will not grip at all. Major air pressure change for Kyle. Shannon.
Be ready, gotta get the
The car is a little bit loose. He also needs some side bite. He is down pit road in his pit stall right now, guys. You still see the 18 pulling off. There's Mark Martin in the 32. They're going to go 2 rounds down on the track bar, and they're going to clean that grill. The 70 car of David Stremme just behind Mark Martin. Guys, this car went all the way to the back of the field because of a changed radiator after qualifying. While the car is a little bit loose, Stremme is saying no changes, 4 tires, that is it. Doc.
Stephen Wallace into the car is very, very loose in, loose off, tight in the middle. Major air pressure change. They held him to get it completely full of fuel. Carl Edwards says, I'm a little bit loose on entry, it's a little bit loose on exit, tight in the middle, half a turn down on the track bar, and a little bit of air pressure out, fall down and away. Mike.
Trevor Bayne has been complaining he's sliding the nose, looking for a little bit of help. Chris Andrews instructing to go with 4 tires and an air pressure adjustment along with Sunoco race fuel on this car. Going to try to get the car to be just a little bit more responsive, more of what Trevor Bayne's looking for so that he has more control over this race car. Meanwhile, Elliott Sadler on pit road now as well. He's been a little bit loose on entry and on exit. Ernie Cope instructing for a track bar adjustment. They're going to lower that 2 rounds. Also a 4-tire change. Also instructed his driver not to wait on fuel. Looking for a quick stop here from the 2 team.
While we watch Sadler's team work, we'll tell you that Reed Sorensen was given a pass-through penalty for a commitment line violation, so he's had to come back through. And check how that affects the championship leader. And now we see how the cycle of stops really plays out as this 2-car gets back up to speed on the racetrack.
He stayed out that extra lap after Carl Edwards made his pit stop to lead a lap just for those points. I'm sure he wanted to get that kind of insurance bonus point. So here he goes back out on the track.
Man, I don't know about you guys, but that wore me out watching that.
That was a lot of action.
Everybody hit pit road just then. Incredible.
There's Carl Edwards already to turn 3, so Sadler lost a good bit of time through the combination of staying out the extra lap and a little bit longer pit stop, it looks like. So let's check up on what happened to Reed Sorensen.
Yeah, he got down in here just a little bit too hot. You can see him locking up the tires. He's trying to maintain control, and he gets just up against that cone. That's what got the penalty.
Then there was trouble on pit road when Jason Leffler was coming to his stall, and Josh Wise was leaving his.
Wow, whoa. Big contact. That's a good job of getting this car turned back around, though, and getting it installed.
Look at this.
Oh, this is great. Nice job.
So what was a 0.2 of a second gap between Carl Edwards and Elliott Sadler is now 1 1/10 seconds between Edwards and Kyle Busch.
Welcome back to Michigan. 44 laps complete here at Michigan International Speedway. We are under caution for debris. A car just ran over and moved it. But a couple of things that we have learned so far today. We just saw Reed Sorensen, a commitment cone violation. He was in 12th, now he's in 22nd. And he's with a different team this weekend, Ricky. What do you think's going on in his mind?
Well, it's critical that a driver is relaxed behind the wheel of his race car. He obviously was with the previous team. He's leading the standings. He's a little bit out of his element. And when you're in that situation, at times you try a little too hard. He carried too much speed getting into pit road and got a penalty for it.
That's right. He's in the 30 car this week, and he's been running with the 32 car. What was interesting at the start of this race, Paul Menard was your pole sitter. He chose the outside lane. He wanted the high side of the track at the very beginning of the race. And if you look at what the leader, Carl Edwards, who has led 40 of the 44 laps complete so far, what lane has he been running?
The high line. And Dr. Jerry Punch reported that Carl Edwards said he's loose getting in the corner. Follow along with me here, folks. The drivers control the front of their car with their steering wheel. They control the back of their car with the gas pedal. If you're loose, you don't turn the wheel getting in the corner. You go in straight, and you use the throttle to get you through the corner. That's what you do with a loose race car at Michigan International Speedway.
Coming down for more pit stop changes. Shannon, what do you got?
Well, they're down right now, guys. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is in. He said it's just a little bit tight. Fuel only. Doc.
18 car in, 4 tires. They're going to top it off with fuel. The likewise that in front of him. The 60th Carl Edwards opted to come in. 4 tires and fuel. At least one more stop, maybe 2. Dave.
Justin Allgaier wanted to come in. His car had no grip coming off the corner. They are going to pack 2 spring rubbers, or a full spring rubber, in the left rear. Take time to do that. Top it off with Sunoco fuel.
Coming back out right now, Elliott Sadler is shown as your leader, but Joey Logano gained 5 positions on that stop. He was the first one to cross over the pit road line. Then Stenhouse, Bayne, Edwards, and Kyle Busch. What do you think we're going to see when we come back?
We're going to see a very exciting 2 or 3, 4 wide restart.
Interesting. After this message and a word from our ABC stations, we'll be back.
While we are under caution in Michigan, remind you that the NHRA Thunder Valley Nationals, Tri-Cities Ford NHRA Thunder Valley Nationals, coming up tonight with qualifying and the finals tomorrow over on ESPN2. NASCAR now presented by 5 Hour Energy, getting you ready for the Michigan Sprint Cup 400-miler tomorrow. We're on the air at 9 a.m. Eastern Time on ESPN2. And here on ABC tomorrow, it's the IZOD IndyCar Series from the famed Milwaukee Mile. That's 3:30 Eastern Time tomorrow. Nationwide Series moving on from here to Road America, the 4-mile road course in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, the Bucyrus 200 next Saturday at 5 Eastern on ESPN. We look forward to that, the second visit by the Nationwide Series to that historic course.
That's a fun course. I can't wait to get there next week. That's one of the most beautiful areas in the world up there at Elkhart Lake. And that race last year was really awesome to watch those guys run around that track.
Coming to the green flag, half a lap from the green. Under this caution, we saw the 2 cars starting in the front row. Elliott Sadler, Paul Menard, stay out, not pit. Everybody else behind them at least got fuel. We've also seen during the commercial break, guys shutting off the cars and coasting around to save gas.
Yes, like we said, Alan, at the beginning of the race, you look at the end of the race and work it backwards. There's 80 laps to go when those other cars pitted. Elliott Sadler was the last car to pit under green. He's kind of already demonstrated that he can make it on just one more stop, so he didn't have to pit right there. So we'll just see how this works out. I think it was a good move by Elliott Sadler and Ernie Cote to leave him out on this particular stop.
Check out the restart order. Carl Edwards is the first with 4 tires in the running order. He's going to line up in 6th position.
Yeah, don't count Carl out. I mean, this guy flat gets around this racetrack, and I really do believe we are going to see a field mileage race, and they're all prepared for it right now, Alan.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It is. These race car drivers hate fuel mileage stuff.
Now, the start of the race, they fanned out 3 and 4 wide. Let's see what happens here on the restart.
Well, they're at least 3 wide, maybe 5 wide through there. Oh, what a mess we've got off turn 2. Look at this.
That's a tight squeeze. Darting down to the inside, that's Kyle Busch on the move. While Stenhouse goes for the lead in the 6. Does he slide up in front of Sadler, or does he have to give him room? New leader, Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
I tell you, when I raced, this was one of my favorite tracks because you could use that turn 4. You could use the whole racetrack. You could slide up, and you'd carry that big horsepower down that front straightaway, and it made it so much fun to drive. It wasn't really close quarters. You had a lot of room to move around. And we saw that first lap when these guys got all sideways and kept on going. Love this track for that type of stuff.
That's Carl Edwards jumping to the inside of Sadler. The Sadler's tires are 4 laps of racing older than these guys that are going by him.
And it's something. It really is. I mean, when you got new tires on versus 4 or 5 lap old tires that have went through a heat cycle on the caution flag, it'll definitely slow that car down.
Now let me just clarify for myself. Stenhouse did not take tires on the pit stop, but Edwards and some of these other guys that are trying to work their way around Sadler, like Kyle Busch, did take 4 tires on the stop.
You're right, but one key thing that happened right there, Stenhouse got out, got that clean air real quick, and clean air, if you have some older tires, sometimes it worked for you, and it's working for Stenhouse.
You see 66, Stephen Wallace, he took 2 tires on that last stop. Made up a lot of track position.
Jason Leffler trying to get 7th from Stephen. There's Brad Keselowski, Mark Martin in the bright yellow car. 32 trying to get back into the mix.
See that 88 car of Eric Almirola right behind. Looks like Justin Allgaier getting in the corner. His car looks a lot better this run.
Tell you what, if you folks at home are sitting watching your television, you see those guys come off of turn 4 and they look pretty edgy. Looks like they're moving around. Trust me, they are edgy.
They are.
They're holding on for dear life. That back end's trying to spin out, and they're holding on big time off that turn 4.
See, Reed Sorensen, he's the first car 1 lap down. He got that penalty when he made that pit stop and hit the commitment cone. He's trying to get that lap back. He's in the spot to get it now if the caution comes out.
Right there. See how he gets loose?
Check this out.
That's what happens on the exit of turn 4.
Allgaier, 30. Maybe he's driving in anger, Leffler, after getting spun around on pit road there.
Well, probably really trying to make up for it, but he knew it wasn't his fault that what happened. It's just a racing accident coming in. I mean, it's close quarters down there.
Look at these three lines. You see Keselowski really working the bottom.
Back up front for the lead, Paul Menard, 33. Trying to work over Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and see if Menard can get himself back to the front.
Both of these KHI cars have been fast today, but it seems like Paul Menard's car is really fast on new tires or when the tires are fresher. You can see him really, really fast right now. Elliott Sadler seems to be fast in the long run. Looks like he's stabilized after he got passed for a few spots, but he's stabilized now. Looks like he's coming back.
Kyle Busch was working on Sadler and then had to fall back behind him. Kyle now in 5th position. So up front, you've got Ford, Chevrolet, Toyota in your top 5. As we approach the midway point of today's NASCAR Nationwide Series race in the Irish Hills of Michigan, it's Mississippi's Ricky Stenhouse Jr. who's out in front. Caution is out for the second time here at Michigan International Speedway. Justin Allgaier went for a spin in turn number 3, did not hit anything. He has driven away. The leaders come to the entrance of pit road, and most of them are coming in. Shannon?
Well, it's 23-year-old Ricky Stenhouse Jr. who leads them down pit road, guys. He is a little bit free in 3 and 4, really good in 1 and 2. It's just going to be a small track bar adjustment and 4 tires. Doc.
And Carl Edwards will come in and they will top him off in fuel, clean the grill, take the windshield cover off, check the tires for debris in the grill, and he's on it away.
Sorry.
Hey guys, they made chassis adjustments on that 31 car on both sides, and of course getting those 4 tires off and replaced because they were heavily flat spotted. Mike?
And lots of problems on the 16 car, Trevor Bayne. He came over the radio immediately after that last restart and said, I am sideways. So much, in fact, he thought he either had the track bar or the truck arm fall so down or maybe become detached. They're looking underneath the car right now to see exactly what is wrong with the race car. But certainly, Trevor Bayne very concerned and saying that something was, quote, bad wrong with that race car. They're still idle on pit road, Alan.
And we know that he got into someone maybe getting to pit road as well in the front of that 16 car, Mike. Now let's show you what happened to bring out the caution. Justin Allgaier was running 9th. Sam Hornish Jr. was right behind him going down the back straightaway into turn number 3. And it kind of went wrong for the 31.
Sam with a big run. Oop, is that aero loose or mechanical loose?
I think that's driver right foot forgot to touch the brake loose.
Yeah, definitely contact there. You can see Allgaier does a great job to keep from hitting the wall and didn't actually even spin all the way out.
How about that?
That's incredible.
At 100 and what miles an hour?
Almost
85,
200.
90, yeah. Now we talk about Trevor Bayne. This is on pit road.
It's Kenny Wallace just ahead of him.
Take your time here, guys, to make sure everything's right.
So there's what happened to there. Brad Keselowski, Michael Annett did not pit. They are now 1st and 2nd, 67 laps to go, and the twists continue. Back at Michigan International Speedway, half a lap from going back to green flag racing, and we reset things for you. Brad Keselowski is the leader by not pitting under this caution. Reed Sorensen, championship leader, got the free pass at the yellow flag, making up the ground lost on that penalty from earlier. And that gives us now 22 cars on the lead lap as we get set to go racing with what will be 65 laps to go. Top 2, as you look at them, did not pit. From 3rd place, Kyle Busch, back through 9th place, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Those were the drivers that got the quick service on pit road. I believe, I want to double check this. Joey Logano got 4 tires on his stop. Stenhouse, I believe, just got fuel, but we'll see as Annett has trouble getting going on the restart.
Yeah, look at these guys. 4, 5 wide. Whoa!
Yeah, this could be big.
That is tight.
So Brad Keselowski leads. Carl Edwards has quickly gotten to second spot. Sam Hornish Jr. is third. Kyle Busch fourth. Joey Logano on the 4 fresh tires from the restart is up to fifth. Update, Stenhouse did take the 4 tires. I just missed him when I wrote all my notes for the pit stops. Shame on me.
I don't blame you. There's a lot going on out there.
That was a close call.
That was a close call.
Like Kenny Wallace getting
contact there. God,
I can't believe they're saving these cars.
Stremme and Jason Leffler got together, 38 and 70.
They're not done yet.
And whatever Trevor Bayne's done, he's got his hook back up going again, so looks like he's fine.
Here comes Kyle Busch. Kyle to third around Sam Hornish.
Tell you what, if you guys ask me to pick out where the next caution is going to come from, I'm going to tell you turn 2 on a restart. It's been pretty crazy over there.
It's been big.
It's amazing how much room is out there and how good these guys can race in this real wide racetrack. And Alan, I don't know what to think about this decision they just had to repave this racetrack now and make it all brand new for next year.
Well, obviously, you know, it's not made, the decision isn't made in a vacuum. They did a track inspection and saw some things that made them make the decision that, yes, we've got to repave the speedway. I mean, it's not a cheap undertaking. You don't do it when you don't have to, right?
No, a lot of the drivers don't want it either. They like this old racetrack that kind of wears the tires, and some of the new guys do want it. They want the real good grip and the smooth track, but it might be a safety issue. You never know. But they are going to do it no matter what. It's going to be done after the August race. It'll be fresh for next year.
The last time it was paved was 1995, so it has a lot of age on it.
Good race here for third. Stenhouse in the 6, Logano in the 20, Paul Menard in the 33.
Well, here's the deal now. After all, we've seen a lot of strategies playing out with different tire strategies and getting fuel on that last one. Some of them staying out. I believe Elliott Sadler is on the best strategy if it goes green to the finish. He's got the freshest tires of the fastest cars that have been running today, and I believe that if it runs out, that he's got a good shot at winning this thing.
It's always good to have too much fuel than not enough.
He's got fresh tires right now. You can see really working the bottom. The car's got a lot of grip. Chasing down Kyle Busch now. So he gets around Sam Hornish.
Elliott Sadler running right now in 7th position. Waiting on Justin Allgaier to check on him. He was the one set for a spin that brought out the last caution. Made a couple of pit stops under that yellow, Dave.
Alan, I want to show you this tire because this came off on that first pit stop when they changed the 4 tires. Crew Chief Jimmy Elledge saw this and he said, you know what, guys? We need to find out if there's any major problem with anything rubbing on the right front of that race car. There was nothing. They looked under the hood on the second time down pit road, and reason when Justin had the wheel cocked so far to the side, the lower control arm rubbed that tire. But, Andy, wouldn't you want to know, too?
Oh, man, that's scary looking right there, Dave. I don't like the looks of that at all. And if it happened when he was turning in and out of the pits, you know, it's still not good. But, man, I tell you, that scares me.
You don't expect to probably have the wheel turned as far to the right as he did trying to save that car up in turn 3.
Yeah, you don't expect to do that again. But, man, that's still scary.
See Kyle Busch up there on the outside of Elliott Sadler. Looked pretty loose coming off of turn 4 again. And Kyle's continuing on every pit stop and working his car to try to tighten it up. It'll handle him better. But still what I see, Andy, is all the cars still have the loose trim. They're all sliding that back around. I don't see anybody pushing the front end out here at all.
There's second place changing hands. Sorry, Andy.
Yeah, I was going to say Stenhouse now looks like he's got new life. Passes Carl Edwards.
Now remember, Carl did not get tires on that last caution. He just took fuel. Stenhouse did.
That's the one you missed, right?
Yeah. Is that a payback for that mention about your high school graduation?
Yeah, I think maybe.
How about Stenhouse, Shannon?
Well, Alan, his car did not start off as good as it is right now. It's actually on the tight side, surprising, because most drivers are complaining about loose conditions. They brought it down on the very first pit stop. They took a rubber out of the left rear, made an air pressure adjustment, and it absolutely came alive. He took the lead. Right now, the car for Ricky Stenhouse just a little bit free, but guys, as you can see, it is fast.
Hear that music from Jaws playing again as he's closing in on the back bumper of that 22.
There he goes.
Not going to wait for long. Can he clear him? Oh, that's close.
Just by a little bit.
If that would have been the last lap of the race, it might not have looked that way.
Yeah, he may not have given him that extra half inch he needed.
Yeah, I was going to say that you better wave thank you out the window to that 22 car behind you. So new leader is Ricky Stenhouse Jr. It is Ford, Dodge, Ford, Chevrolet, Toyota in the top 5. We'll come back to Michigan with more after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Welcome back to the Alliance Truck Parts 250 in Michigan. Make sure to go to NASCAR.com for all your latest NASCAR information. And for all you heavy-duty truck drivers with a commercial CDL, it's time to play the Alliance Truck Parts Watch to Win game. Text PARTS to 68683 within 250 seconds for your chance to win an all-expense-paid VIP trip to the Homestead Miami race in November and a prize pack worth over $500. Then go to AllianceTruckParts.com/racing on Monday, June 20th and see if you are a winner. Dial carefully and good luck.
250 seconds? Man, I can't do it that quick. I got to get in, get my glasses out. I got to be able to see high text. It takes too much time. We got to stretch it out a little bit.
Oh, you don't have a CDL either.
That's true.
52 laps to go. Let's go up to speed with Nationwide Insurance. Check in on some of the contenders to win. We start with Shannon.
And Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is out front right now leading the pack. He was searching for grip most of practice yesterday. He came out. He was doing a little bit of the same in this practice. In this race, they made a major adjustment. They took a spring rubber out on their first pit stop, and this car has really come alive. So let's talk fuel mileage. Ricky Stenhouse actually sat down with Jimmy Johnson earlier this week. They talked about fuel mileage. Ricky says it's not something he likes to do, but he knows that he's on the same page with the champion, and that might make it a little bit easier. Doc?
And as for Carl Edwards behind him, it's all about being patient right now. Middle portion of the race, no need to get in a big hurry. One more stop and they can make it. Carl just biding his time. Carl wants to win this race because Ford Motor Company and his car owner, Jack Roush, their headquarters are nearby in Detroit. It's all about protecting the home turf. Dave.
Well, Doc, Brad Keselowski's won this race 2 years in a row, so I asked his crew chief, Todd Gordon, any pressure on you to keep that on? He said, yeah. Brad said, I really want to win Michigan. But Todd said, how do I do that for him when we try to win every week? He said, we expedited some parts out of engineering, got him here a little bit sooner just to give ourselves the biggest advantage we could. Mike?
This is just Paul Menard's third Nationwide Series start of the year. In the first two, he finished third, then he finished second, and if you follow the pattern here, you know what he's looking for today. The car had been loose, but they just made some adjustments. That's allowed Paul to run the line he'd prefer on the racetrack. The car is much better, much more to his liking right now, Doc.
And it has been an eventful day for Kyle Busch, who started back in 12th position, moved up to 5th, and bounced it off the wall in the first 15 laps of the race because of a car underneath him in the turn. They had taken track bar in, track bar out, air pressure in, air pressure out, and now Kyle rim riding up near the wall. That means a little more track bar, and the car will be a little bit better for the final run. Shannon.
Well, because this 20 car of Joey Logano sat out last week, they're no longer in the hunt for the owner championship. It's all about wins for this team. However, they have been struggling with the handling, and this race is no different. Joey Logano says the car is skating all over the racetrack. It has not gotten better as adjustments have gone on, and as the race has gone on, it's still very loose. Now, Mark Martin currently running behind Joey Logano on the track. We talked about him trying to get his 50th win with this 32 team. The car started off very loose. They had set it up for overcast conditions similar to what we're experiencing right now. They did make some changes, a track bar adjustment, an air pressure adjustment, and Mark Martin is happy with the car, or was when the sun was out. We'll see how it goes as the sun has gone behind the clouds. Mike?
Before stopping on lap 57, Shannon, Elliott Sadler complaining that the car was just a little bit too loose for his liking. Crew chief Ernie Cope making a track bar adjustment and changed 4 tires, but Sadler says the changes haven't really made the car any better.
It seems like the changes are making this not, the car's not taking it, Ernie. Still pretty loose, rolled over on the right rear still. I think it's actually worse because it's rolled over. I'm trying to explain it to you. It's like the right rear's dipping, putting too much pressure on that right rear tire.
And as you heard Sadler say, the car just has not taken those changes. One factor that you may have to consider, this race started out in sunshine, it was hot, the clouds have rolled in, and it's much cooler, Alan.
I really believe, Mike, that's what's happening to this 2 car is it has gotten a lot cooler. Track temp has cooled down a ton, and I think it's really working against this 2-car setup.
Man, I've been to that a million times where you're really, really loose and you put all that wedge in the left rear corner and that right rear gets real weak feeling and it falls over and makes you looser. So they're in a tough position right now. They've really got to think how to fix that 2-car of Elliott Sadler. Because they've kind of got themselves in a box right now.
Little teammate tag team drafting down the back straightaway.
Yeah, they've been swapping this spot back and forth a couple of times. We've seen Kyle up front for a few laps, and now we see Joey up front.
Speaking of positions up front, this is for third place. Paul Menard goes by Brad Keselowski. Double threes over double twos. I guess that'd work in a card game, too.
Yeah.
There's the race for the lead. Carl Edwards closing in on his younger teammate, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 46 laps and another round of pit stops still to come.
42 laps to go here at Michigan. Reed Sorensen, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is your leader, but the green flag as we get you caught up on the Rapid Energy 5-hour Energy Rapid Recap. A couple guys in the front where we don't normally see Sam Hornish Jr. and Paul Menard.
Yeah, they both got a lot of experience, but they came out with the most speed this weekend. Got a great start.
Pit road has been a bit of a hot spot for the points leader. That is Reed Sorensen, and that is Jason Leffler going for a little bit of a spin.
Jason Leffler trying to get into his pit while another car was coming out of his pit contact, and then you see some contact here, bottling up off of turn 2.
It's been a busy day for last week's winner, Justin Allgaier.
Just got bucked from behind on corner entry. It's when you're most vulnerable. He did a great job not wrecking a race car there.
And Justin Allgaier started 22nd. He's back up to the 18th spot right now, and just past for the lead. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is now in second. The new leader is Carl Edwards. AB?
Edwards had fallen back off of Stenhouse, Nicole, a little bit, and then all of a sudden just charged forward and got a run.
Yeah, right there he gets really loose. See him up against the wall. Stenhouse way down on the bottom.
Well, the weather's had something to do with this overcast skies right now. I don't know actually what it's doing to everybody's cars, but it's changed them up a little bit, it seems to be.
So Carl Edwards back out in front for the third time in this race. He's led more laps than anyone so far today, 41 of the 85 that have been completed. And trying to see if he can get away just a little bit. Good day for Jack so far. 1 and 2 his cars run. Trevor Bayne back in 10th position in the other of the Roush Fenway Racing Fords. Roush Fenway finishing 1-2 in 2 of the last 3 races this season in the Nationwide Series.
Tell you what, every now and then you get a real hot team, and this particular team right now, they've got their engineering figured out, they got their engines figured out. Always a new team in the front of the pack from year to year, and right now this team at this point in time of the year has got it going on.
Rusty, you talked about on Countdown the horsepower comparisons. There's always a lot of discussion in the garage about that. NASCAR says they test all the engines, have tested them recently. They're all within 1%, but the perception is the Fords have a little more steam right now.
Well, I mean, as much as I've done this and Andy's done this and Ricky, I mean, horsepower numbers on a dyno are fairly important, but not nothing like it is what it looks like on the racetrack. Cars run a lot different on the track than they do in an engine dyno.
Brad Keselowski's given up 4th position to pit here, Dave.
And Alan, when Justin Allgaier spun on lap 56, this team chose not to pit. They stayed out. So now they've come down for fuel. It was time. The car was building to a loose condition that Brad didn't like, so they make another chassis adjustment for that. They'll put on 4 tires, and if my math is right, they should be able to make it till the end. They do make sure they've got it topped off, though.
All the way. See Paul Menard now making a pit stop. He's on pit road.
Surprised.
Yeah, they're surprised to see the 33 on pit road this early. Short pitting a little bit, but Keselowski may have forced the hand of some of these other crew chiefs by pitting when he did.
Well, maybe this is a Kevin Harvick incorporated team strategy because Elliott Sadler's on pit road as well. Mike?
At first, Paul Menard saying his car is just a touch free on exit, but that's dependent upon how he gets through the corner. They're going to make a 4-tire change, also an air pressure adjustment on the 33. Meanwhile, Elliott Sadler is in. They're going to make a track bar adjustment on that car. You heard his radio not too long ago saying the car's rolling over on the right side a little bit. They're going to try to correct that with that track bar adjustment. Also a wedge adjustment on the left side. 4-tire change for the 2, and he's away. Meanwhile, the 33 car did have a problem on pit road. Very slow off.
And you saw the officials waving. They had a lug nut missing from the right rear after they had a long stop on that right rear side of the car. That's a bad time to have that for Paul Menard under green in the closing laps of the race. Dave?
12 car of Sam Hornish would not turn the way he wanted it to. They'll put a spring rubber in the right rear, and they'll fill it full of fuel. The 62 of Michael Annett is on pit road as well. 1 and 2 are good, he says. 3 and 4 loose in and tied off.
Like Brad Keselowski's going to get a penalty for an uncontrolled tire. on his last stop.
So we'll see him come back for a pass-through penalty and take away really any opportunity to get a good finish today because we're so late in the going and we get so few cautions at this Michigan race. The time to make up that lost ground just doesn't exist. More green flag pit stops. 39, Danny Eflin is in. The 7 of Josh Wise is in. Shannon?
Well, Josh was really looking forward to this race as an opportunity to show what this team's capable of. The car's been decent. They are not going to make any changes on this pit stop. They're just going to take 4 tires as they're trying to pack that baby full of fuel. Guys?
We saw the right front damage on that 7 car from that tangle he had on pit road earlier with Jason Leffler. Here is the penalty being served by Brad Keselowski. One word. Ouch.
Yeah, that's too bad. He was kind of scratching and clawing his way back into contention, using a little strategy on the last round of pit stops to get up front. That's going to cost him. Shannon?
Great effort for David Stremme and this 70 team. It's his 3rd start with this team. They had to start in the back of the field because of a radiator change. Right now, the car is just a little bit free for David Stremme. Doc.
And David Rudiman in. They still lack front grip on the car. They have actually moved 5 different rubbers around this car. They put 3 rubbers in the right rear, taking 1 out of the right front and a half of 1 out of the left rear, trying to get the car to handle. And David says the car still needs more front grip. Final stop, 4 tires. He's away.
33 laps to go. Carl Edwards leading Ricky Stenhouse by 1 second. Joey Logano 8 seconds back in 3rd now. Kyle Busch, Mark Martin, Trevor Bayne, Reed Sorensen, Jason Leffler, Justin Allgaier, Brian Scott. The rest of the top 10 that have not pitted yet for their final stop. All right, Andy, so your Carl Edwards team, you leave him out there looking for a caution, you leave him out there as long as he can run, or do you bring him in at some point?
No, watching the lap times, as long as he can maintain pretty decent lap times, which they're falling off fairly good, I'll leave him out there. What you don't want is the cars that have made these pit stops and got new tires make up too much ground, but this is potentially, it is a caution out. This is why you leave him out, Alan.
Martin on pit road. We believe
be a
before
break
the
for
caution
Martin.
wave. Yep.
Yeah, I got a flat. I got it.
Sean Pete, Jackman for the 32, giving us a look over the wall there as Mark heads back out onto the racetrack. As long as he got past that line at the end of pit road before the caution was thrown, then his pit stop is good and he's clean.
Yeah, but I'm afraid he could have been lapped by Carl as he's making that stop, but he'll take the wave around when Carl makes his pit stop before we go green again. See, Eric Almirola has really struggled with his car all day.
Trying to see if he had a right front going down in that car or not. And I don't think he did. I think he just flat lost it.
So Almirola has gotten it going again. He was 12th at the time of his spin. And good break for Paul Menard at this caution flag. We saw the forever pit stop they had on the 33. He's going to get the free pass on this yellow and be able to come back around.
And just looking at the scoring monitor, we have to wait till they all come back around to update, but Martin may have stayed on the lead lap, making that pit stop when the caution came out. Might be a really good break for him.
So, at the moment, including Almirola, not including Menard, there are 12 cars on the lead lap. When these leaders peel off, it's going to shuffle. The guys who just stopped under the green are going to be between the leader and the pace car. So we're going to see a pile of wave arounds probably before the restart as well.
I'm glad you're here to figure this out because it's not easy when something like this happens. After everybody just pits, it gets everything very, very confusing. And as a driver, I'm in the car going, what in the world is going on? And they're saying, just keep going, listening to me, calm down, don't get all excited. We'll figure this thing out.
Reed Sorensen's crew getting ready to make his pit stop.
It's about the top 10 cars stayed on the racetrack. And
yeah, Reed Sorensen he got the lucky dog, got back on the lead lap. This caution's a break for him. He's running 6. Here they come.
Big stop here. No mistakes, but get it done right. Put your driver in position for a win. Shannon?
Well, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. says the car has gotten tight as the run has gone on. They're going to make a slight track bar adjustment, lift it up, and it's scheduled 4 tire stop for Ricky Stenhouse. Doc?
Carl Edwards, track bar down, and just a half a round, 4 tires. Don't get it full of fuel. He said better have balance with the car if we don't fill it completely up. They're going to be careful on the fuel. Dave.
Doc Reed Sorensen recovering from a commitment cone penalty earlier, and he was a lap down. Was the free pass like Andy mentioned. Track bar wedge adjustment, loose race car, Mike.
The call from Chris Andrews on the 16 for Trevor Bayne. 1 can of fuel, 4 tires, and they're away.
Outside. You're all good behind the 20 there. Watch your speed.
So Carl Edwards first off pit road of the cars who stopped. And now we'll see how things shuffle out as we get ready for the restart in a few moments with the wave arounds and the free passes and how we're going to be stacked up for a double file restart in a 30-lap shootout to the finish here in Michigan. Back live, Michigan International Speedway, closing laps of today's NASCAR Nationwide Series race. And what do you know? Mark Martin is going to be the leader of this race after the fortunate timing of getting to pit road just before the caution flag came out and then staying on the racetrack when all the other contenders for the win pitted under the yellow. Let's show you how Martin was on pit road already before the yellow flag was waved and pit road was closed.
Right here, the pit road is open. It's still green. Mark Martin hits pit road. And the reason he stayed on the lead lap is because right about now, the caution came out and everybody slowed down. Mark comes to his stall, makes his pit stop, but everybody else is slowing down to, pit road speed. That allowed him to get back out on the track without losing a lap. He's got 4 new tires starting up front.
That puts a big smile on Mr. Martin's face.
Now, that's the good news. The bad news is Carl Edwards is next to him. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Kyle Busch are behind him.
Well, that's okay. Mark Martin, get up on that wheel right here now. He can see the lead. He is the leader.
So we've had several wave arounds on the caution flag. Elliott Sadler, Sam Hornish, Josh Wise, Michael Annett, Brad Keselowski, David Ruderman, David Stremme, and Mike Bliss were between the leader Mark Martin and the pace car. So they get waved around the pace car. They're all back on the lead lap. We've got 21 cars on this lead lap as we get set to go racing with 27 laps to go.
And everybody's got fresh tires. And I'm going to be paying attention to Exeter Turn 2.
Yeah, it's going to be big.
Late in the race right now. These guys are getting all jacked up.
Looks like NASCAR's going to add a lap so all these cars can get lined up in their spot.
So they have added a lap to the caution to make sure the restart order is correct. Gives us a minute to say hello to Tim Brewer in our Craftsman Tech Garage, who's got some show and tell for us. Tim?
Thanks, AB. You know, it's showtime right now. You got to go after it as much as you possibly can. So if you're a crew chief, you're going to give your driver all the advantage. You take the spring rubbers, what you do, you stack them in the right rear spring right here. That's going to do more than one thing. It's going to increase spring rate on the right rear, making the car turn better. But by putting that spring rubber in there, it's literally going to put the air dam on the ground, the splitter on the left front. It's going to plant the nose, but it's going to keep this rear spoiler up so you can really get after it because it's showtime right now, guys. You got to give it all you got.
It's time to show what you got, isn't it, Brewer?
Yes, sir.
Boy, if I was just a little bit tight, that'd be the first thing I do is jam that rubber down right where and say, okay, guys, I got it in. It's up to you now, driver. Get after it.
The only problem is it takes a little time to put one of those spring rubbers in under a pit stop, so you don't want to give too much up.
Yeah, you don't even want to do that if you got a problem. I mean, you wouldn't want to do that to make the car go faster. If you got a problem, you need to adjust, dress it, and Tim's right. That spring rubber will do a lot.
Well, based on what we've seen after some of the restarts today, it will be quite a show. NASCAR has just added another lap to the caution, something they're trying to straighten away either with the restart lineup or the cleanup of the track. So we'll take a quick break. We'll come back for the final laps at Michigan in a minute. Time to settle it at Michigan International Speedway in today's NASCAR Nationwide Series 250-miler, a race that has seen only 3 cautions, not surprising. Now will we see another one between here and the checkered flag as we get set to run out the final 25 laps of this race. While we have a minute before the restart, tell you about summer's wildest new game show. Answer trivia questions to win big cash, but get them wrong, and you're ejected in the most extreme way ever seen. It's the premiere of 101 Ways to Leave a Game Show, Tuesday, June 21st, 9/8 Central on ABC. I've seen some of the promotional
clips
for that.
Fun.
It looks wild. That'll be fun. All right, this will be fun. Big, wide, fast Michigan International Speedway. where we have now 21 cars on the lead lap. There'll be 25 laps to settle this one. Everybody's got fuel to the finish. Mark Martin is leading. Carl Edwards is next to him. You see the rest of the restart order as they come to the green flag. They'll be 4 and 5 wide here in just a second. We'll see if they come out the other side with all the fenders intact.
Fenders intact. That's a good word.
Kyle Busch giving Mark Martin a little help on that restart.
He's just trying to make a hole for himself. Look at this. Oh, look at this. Mike Wallace getting knocked around a little bit there in the 0-1.
Man alive. It looks like scrambled eggs back there. They're all scrambled up.
3 wide. Here's Kyle. Down to the inside in the 18. He goes by Edwards and Martin. Carl rallying back on the outside. He's not afraid to drive it off into the corner, is he, Kyle?
I'll tell you, Kyle is one of the best on the restarts and bombing that baby down there and going to the top side of the track. We see him doing that all the time. He's not scared up there. And a lot of the drivers are concerned about debris being up there, stuff like that. Not Kyle.
You see Trevor Bayne also up there in the top 5. His car's got a little damage on the hood. Said he had problems with his rear suspension. Looks like he's got it all fixed.
So Martin shuffled from first back to fourth. Edwards, Busch, Stenhouse, and Martin, the top 4.
How about Stephen Wallace in the picture right there, the 66? Got a good break with that caution, Rusty. Got some tires on.
Really good crew chief job by Doug Randolph playing that card right there. But they've been working on the car, and they got it handling a lot better right now. And they got it handling about the right time now, with 23 laps to go.
Front 5 have broken away a little bit. That's Paul Menard trying to rally through. Remember him? He had the long pit stop under green, got the free pass, came back around, charge! Started on the pole today, did that 33 car, and he's trying to get back up front to have a shot at finishing in that first spot.
Yeah, they had a disastrous green flag pit stop, and they would fight back from it.
Stenhouse, a run to the outside of Kyle Busch. Now the crossover.
Tight. Big old track, and they need another half inch coming off the corner.
Always. They'll use every bit you give them.
Every inch.
There's so much speculation about that Ford engine. Is it power? Is that the engine can run a lot cooler and they put more tape on the front end? Or what is it? Whatever it is, it's working for them, and they've got a good little advantage, it seems to be.
One thing I've learned in all my years of racing, nothing controls the speed of a race car like the engine.
Get Stenhouse drive it into turn number 3. Put the slide job on his teammate.
It was time to go.
Yeah, they're really happy to see how this kid's driving, Ricky Stenhouse. A kid that went through a lot of problems last year, a lot of crashes, many problems.
Oh, contact there.
It's like Rudeman and Jeremy Clements get together.
David Stremme with the push draft on Clements. Here's Elliott Sadler diving to the inside of all of them.
The rear bumper on the 62 car of Michael Annett is broken loose. Looks like he got hit in the back. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I've seen those bumpers come off and make the cars run quicker.
Right side of the screen. Mark Martin, Paul Menard, 4th and 5th. Trevor Bayne there as well, 6th.
I'm impressed with Trevor Bayne's comeback. His car really wasn't that good. Like you said, he complained about having maybe a trailing arm bushing or a track bar or something was wrong in the back. Got hit on pit road. You see the damage on the hood. And here he is now contending for a top spot.
Andy, every now and then you get a set of tires put on your car. It's just not to your liking. The car flat doesn't handle. And it'll drive a driver crazy. He'll start thinking about all kind of mechanical things that might be wrong when there's nothing wrong. I've heard drivers say, my engine's blowing up just because the front end's pushing too much. I got all kind of problems. They change tires and all of a sudden everything's fine again.
See Bayne really committing to that top line. Look how close he is to the wall.
How about this 16 car, Mike?
Well, Alan, I think Rusty is spot on. That's exactly what happened with the car. We heard the radio from Trevor Bayne midway through this race complaining about perhaps something being broken underneath the race car, when in fact they think it was just a bad set of tires. Since putting on 4 tires, the car has responded. It reminds me of a conversation we had with Chris Andrews earlier this week. He said Trevor Baynes sitting out had a silver lining. He watched, he observed, he listened to other drivers, and from that, he learned a lot of things. One of them was how to work through certain situations. In particular, he watched Matt Kenseth at Charlotte earlier this month or earlier this summer and saw how he worked through things. Perhaps it's that experience that's paying off today, Alan.
Well, Trevor working through Mark Martin there to pick up a spot. He is behind Paul Menard now. Bayne running in 5th, Menard 4th. They're all trailing Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who leads this race with 18 laps to go. He's out in front of Carl Edwards by half a second. Back for the finish at Michigan after this message and a word from our ABC stations. "16 laps to go. Sam Hornish Jr. leaving pit road. Had some contact, obviously, with something very hard while running 13th 2 laps ago.
Going inside.
Looks like he just got loose off turn 4.
Just got the fence there, guys.
And evidently got that right front tire up in the wall, and Andy finally
You're
blew
okay,
itself
man.
out.
You're okay. All clear.
And Hornish, again, had to come in with a right front flat. Some pretty significant sheet metal damage on that corner of the car. They're being overtaken by the race leader, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Driving car number 6 as we come inside the final 15 laps. A race that in recent times has seen a late yellow, but then this year we've seen fewer yellows than in past seasons.
So, yeah, you're trying to balance that. As a crew chief, you play the odds. But the odds this year of those late... Looks like Carl Edwards going a little bit high there. Maybe he's trying to work that high line. You just can't count on those late cautions this year for some reason. It seems like we've had a lot more green flag runs to the finish.
A lot of times, if you're a crew chief, if you're just out there looking, I would think, Andy, that you can tell your drivers, hey, it looks awful calm right now. I don't see anybody very close. I think this thing's going to go green all the way. And those other times as a driver, I mean, they're going, man, these things are all bottled up. They all look crazy. Something's going to happen. And you're telling your crew, get ready, because it's getting ready to happen. You know it is. You can have a gut feeling about it.
Right now, Stenhouse and Edwards, first and second, have separated themselves from third place Kyle Busch by a couple of seconds. There's the gap back to Kyle. He's under some pressure from Paul Menard in the 33.
Earlier today, we watched Paul Menard lay a qualifying lap down, was one of the fastest laps I've seen at this racetrack in a long time. They had almost 7/10 of a second faster than the second place car. It was a miraculous run out of that team.
Setback for Menard was a green flag pit stop not that long ago in this race where they had troubles on the right rear and it dropped him way behind. He got the free pass on an ensuing caution, but that left Menard kind of digging out of a hole a little bit. That pit stop really cost him some ground.
Paul's a real mild-mannered person. Hard to get him rattled. He's got a lot of skills, so he didn't let that bad pit stop get him down, and he's fought his way back up here. He's going to, looks like, get a good solid top 5 finish.
I think he's on the mend a little bit too, isn't he? I heard he stepped on a nail or something on Lake Norman and had like 10 or 15 stitches put in his foot. Really tough deal for him, but maybe it was the left one because the right one's planted right now.
Off the crutches and looking a lot better walking around the racetrack here this weekend is Paul Menard, and they're going after third spot on Kyle Busch.
I'll tell you, Paul's car is really good. If that late race caution does fly, Alan, I believe that 33 car will have something to say about who wins it.
Hey, well, I was watching the 12 car up there, Alan. Sorry to interrupt you. But you got to feel bad for Sam Hornish. He runs very few races, but that car was really flat fine today. And here his sponsor is sponsoring the race.
Yeah.
You really want to run good in front of him, and he was. He just had that right front problem.
Look at this fight.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Neither one of them going to give up.
Kyle's not giving up.
Hey, Kyle's not leaving any room against that wall. He's right up on that thing.
Look at the front splitter on that 33 car, how the paint is, or the covering is chipped away on it from the wear and tear of the race.
I noticed that earlier, and I was just wondering if that splitter was just kind of laying on that ground, kind of making that paint job hot, and the paint was actually coming off because of the heat coming off that splitter. Could be. I don't know the answer to that. So running awful low to the ground, I do know that.
That's the object, right?
That's right.
Low as you can without hitting it.
Low as you can without hitting. That means your car is going to go faster.
Still this race for third and fourth, side by side. Now with a lap car.
Now, if we see Paul Menard
Giving him
using
some
that
room,
car of Sam Hornish to get a little draft off of. Okay, we're inside that 10 laps to go, Alan.
Okay, Professor, what's going to happen here?
Green to the finish.
Okay. You've made a decision. We're sticking with it.
It's been the trend this year.
Look here, we got Carl Edwards been really working on Stenhouse. I think he's looked up at the scoreboard too, seeing how many laps to go there is.
I was listening to throttle this thing. He was really backing the throttle quick.
Yeah, but he gets a good run.
Yeah. Dive it to the bottom and try to slide up in front of him. Oh my gosh,
Man,
that was tight.
That scared me.
I thought they were both going around on that one.
New leader, 8 laps to go, Carl Edwards. Here's Stenhouse looking back inside.
I believe Carl has him now. He's clear off of turn 2.
Carl Edwards has run so extraordinarily well of late, not gotten the trophies to show for it. He's been the guy passed for the final lead change in the last 3 races of the Nationwide Series.
He's getting tired of that.
After his Dover win, second, and second. More on the 60, Doc.
Yeah, he just said he got outrun at Iowa by Ricky Stenhouse, and he finished second there. At Charlotte, they had a fuel mileage issue. He had to pit early, and he got beaten by his teammate, Matt Kenseth. And then the last time out of Chicagoland, that's the one Carl told me that has stuck in his craw because he absolutely dominated the race and ran a half a lap short on fuel. Shannon.
Well, talk about 5 laps to go. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., as you see the battle between the 18 and the 33 going on right now. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Carl Edwards on the right side of the screen, battle for first. Says he is too tight, about 5 laps to go. This is exactly what happened with his car on the long run earlier in the race. The car's just gone tight on him.
Thanks, Shannon. Are we thinking that was getting a little heated between Kyle and Paul?
It's good. I'll tell you, they're having a really good battle. It's like Paul Menard is going to get the better of Kyle Busch now. I just think, you know, Menard's car is just so much better than the 18 at this point. Kyle doing an incredible job trying to hold him off.
The problem Menard's got right now is he is almost 4 seconds behind Carl Edwards.
Yeah, he needs that late caution.
He needs the yellow if he's going to have a chance at winning. There's the gap. Carl has put some gap on Ricky Stenhouse as well. What a season it's been for Carl Edwards. Talk about the disappointments in the second the last few weeks. But, okay, you finished first or second the last 4 straight races. Good. Edwards already with 3 wins this season. And those 3 wins all coming in the last 9 races. What a run for the former series champ.
Watching teammates right here, Reed Sorensen and Jason Luffler go at it, with just 4 or 5 laps to go right now.
This is for 10th position, Rusty.
And I tell you, 10th position is a cool sounding number. You want to be 10th. You don't want to be 11th. It's like top 5 or top 10. If you could smell that 5th place finish and you're running 6, you want that top 5.
Yeah, they don't say top 6 or top 11.
No, they don't. It's either top 5 or top 10. It's just the verbiage everybody uses, us media guys and reporters, and it just sounds cooler.
And remember, both these guys have overcome some adversity in the race. Jason Leffler got tagged on pit road on a green flag pit stop and did a 360 and drove back into his pit stall. He and Josh Wise had contact. Sorensen got to pit road too hot and knocked the commitment cone aside for a green flag pit stop and had to do a pass-through penalty. He got the free pass, came back around into the lead lap, and here they are racing for 10th spot. And that top 10 finish.
Yes. Very important sound. Leffler's got that advantage right now. Using the top side of that track, I've noticed the last couple corners to keep that momentum up we've talked about all the time. But you know, this track is a little bit flatter on the very bottom lane. About a degree flatter. And we'll see some guys just shoot down in that bottom every now and then to try to find some grip, maybe just for that corner, to kind of get them out front. It works sometimes, not all the time.
Everything's steady up front. Edwards and Stenhouse 0.7 of a second apart. Paul Menard 3.5 seconds back. Leffler has moved away from Sorensen a little bit for 10th position. Sorensen came into the race as the championship leader. If the final 3 laps run out as they are now, he will fall from 1st to 3rd in points. That's how tight things are at the top of the Nationwide Series championship. Mark Martin, remember, he was leading on the last restart. Now he's fighting for 6th place with Joey Logano. That's Martin in the 32.
You could tell when we were talking to Martin earlier, he just felt like he had a pretty good car, but he didn't have a dominant car. And a driver can tell when he's got a super fast car. And I just couldn't hear that out of Mark's voice. He was a little guarded. Like, that's okay. It's not what I need.
So summing up some storylines on the day, the Mark Martin, Kyle Busch for all-time most wins in the Nationwide Series. Going to be a stalemate here. Mark only to run one more of these Nationwide races this season. So his chance to maybe add one to his total and hold on to that record a little longer and be first to 50, as we talked to him about on Countdown, is going to have to wait for another day. Kyle also, it does appear, is not going to be able to add to his win total today. Though he and Paul Menard are still going to have a heck of a fight for 3rd place.
He's not giving up on that spot.
Fuel mileage, we saw people shutting off the engines and saving fuel earlier in the race. Not going to be a factor here. The Detroit hometown race for Jack Roush and Roush Fenway Racing looks like it's going to wind up in a 1-2 finish as Carl Edwards is in his final corner. He'll come to the checkered flag and score the victory in Michigan over his teammate Ricky Stenhouse Jr. It is Ford first in its own hometown.
Thank y'all so much. I'm so blessed to have you. Awesome, guys. Awesome. That's 1-2 for Ford here in Detroit. That's cool. Great job. Thank you guys so much. That's a really, really good car.
And you see some of the rest of the finishers as they come to the start-finish line. Carl Edwards' 33rd NASCAR Nationwide Series win, his 2nd in this series at this racetrack. Ties 5 other drivers for most wins at this speedway. And again, another 1-2 finish for Roush Fenway Racing and their very fast Nationwide Series Fords. Another win for Mike Beam, Doc.
Yeah, Mike Beam. Mike, and you very calmly told your driver that when Ricky Stenhouse blew by with 25 to go, so don't worry about it. With 10 to go, you'll start reeling him in. You'll catch him with 8 to go and pass him with 7 to go. All that happened. How'd you know that?
Well, I'd like to say I was pretty smart, but I'd be lying there. So it's like, we just watched the pattern of the race, and I knew that Ricky, he could run that fast a lap. Just coming here for years, you could see cars that are fast. They're tight enough to do that, and I knew that. I made sure we didn't over adjust our car there at the end there, and unfortunately Ricky got tight, and we were able to capitalize on it.
Hey, congratulations! Go celebrate.
Hey, I want to tell everybody Happy Father's Day, and especially my dad back in Hickory. He's been in the hospital. I love you, Dad. I'll see you tomorrow.
Absolutely, and what a great present for his father, a win at Michigan. Alan?
There he goes. A lot of fans love that, don't they?
Yeah, it is cool. Not everybody can do that.
And here he comes to celebrate with the fans. He's trying to figure out how to get up there with them.
We watched Carl do this for a long time. Every time he wins, it's still hard to believe that he does that. Jumps out of a car, runs in the grandstands. He gets out with all his clothes still on.
He's going up in the fans.
He's going to run all the way to the top of the grandstand.
Oh, that's cool.
Alan, I think he's coming to see us.
Yeah, only a few more rows. He's up here in the booth with us.
Come on, people. Take the picture with me. Look at that. How cool is that?
That's very cool. Very cool.
Fans have to love this.
It's just so uncommon. It's common for him, but we just haven't seen this in the sport much. Really cool deal. Look how fresh he looks, too. This guy's in incredible condition, not even sweating.
He's got 400 miles to run tomorrow for another trophy.
Yeah. Nice little practice session for him today.
And another flip and another trip into the grandstands with a checkered flag. Carl Edwards, the winner today here at Michigan. He'll make the short drive around the pit wall and into victory lane. We'll talk with Carl and some of the other top drivers as we get set to wrap it up today here in Michigan. Edwards, the winner, leading the Roush Fenway 1-2 sweep, the 3rd time that's happened in the last 4 races in this 2011 Nationwide Series season. As the pit crews start to pack up their equipment, a Roush Fenway Racing Ford is pulled into victory lane. No surprise, no one's been better in this Nationwide Series at Michigan than Jack Roush's team. 43 attempts, 4 poles, 5 wins, 29 top 10s. They lead all teams in all those categories. Another win today for the team. Carl Edwards, he's in victory lane with Dr. Jerry Punch.
And he is getting a shower down here in victory lane with the crew, still carrying the checkered flag. Hey, Carl, first of all, congratulations. Before I ask you about the race, tell me about going up in the stands and visiting with those fans.
That's really neat. That's neat. That's the farthest up there I've gone, and the fans were great up there. Ran into some really neat Carl Edwards fans that were really excited, so that means a lot. I got to thank Fastenal. They've really stepped it up this year. They're a great company to be partnered with. I mean, Ricky drove his heart out. That guy is unbelievable. I didn't think I was going to be able to get him. It looked like his car got tightened up, and man, he did a good job. But I got to thank Ford. We're here in Ford's backyard. It's a huge day for the Ford Mustang. We had that Ford Focus out as a pace car, and we'll have them here tomorrow. Wiley X, Valvoline, all the fans, Aflac, Scotts, Kellogg's, Scotts, 3 times. I got great sponsors, and I got a great team. This car is very, very fast. That's a lot of fun.
You mentioned Ricky Stenhouse. Now, Mike Beam calmly told you when he blew by, he said, don't worry about it, Carl. With about 10 to go, you'll start reeling him in. You'll catch him with 8 to go and pass him with 7. Mike was right on. I mean, how did he know that?
I don't know, because I didn't know that. I thought Ricky was setting sail. I didn't think I was going to be able to catch him. He is doing such a great job. Man, he is an unreal driver. His car, I don't think, was balanced as well as mine was, and he was somehow making it go that fast. So he's someone I'm a little nervous about in the future. But got to say hi to Kate. I love you very much. And got to say hi to my Aunt Terry. I love you. And just a really, really, really special win here. We had the folks from Ford. We had Jim Farley and the guys here, and that was really huge. Lewis Booth, the CFO, came here this morning to talk to us about how important racing was to them. So it's cool to be here in victory lane with a Ford Mustang.
Hey, congratulations on the win. And by the way, happy Father's Day weekend.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Carl Edwards picks up win number 21. Yes, 21 wins here for Roush Fenway Racing at their home track in Michigan. 5th time in the Nationwide Series. 11 of those wins, of course, in the NASCAR Sprint Cup.
Doc, thanks. And Father's Day weekend, of course, for Carl Edwards, recently celebrating the birth of a second child. And he very, very much introduced to racing by his dad, Carl Sr., known to a lot of folks as Mike, and successful racer around the Midwest on the short tracks there as well. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., very much praised by Carl Edwards, Shannon.
Well, the disappointment on Ricky Stenhouse's face tells the story of how far you have come from last season. What happened to the car at the end?
We just got too tight. We needed about a 15-lap run there at the end, going green with our new tires. We just got too tight at the end, and our Tender Ridge Mustang was fast all day, just not as fast as Carl's Fastenal Ford. It was a good 1-2 finish though for Jack and everyone at Roush Yates Engines. This racetrack needs a motor, and we definitely got it. But we got to go visit Ford this week, and they got multiple vehicles with 40 more miles per gallon, and it was fun going to see those and got to drive a lot of cars, and this was for them. We wanted to get a 1-2-3 finish, but 1-2 is pretty good.
Well, this might put a smile on your face. You are now the points leader here in the Nationwide Series. Mike?
And some hard racing for the 3rd position, and Kyle Busch takes it home 3rd, but man, that battle with you and Paul Menard, it was pretty good.
Yeah, it was. Hopefully we put on a good show for everybody on ESPN and here at Michigan, but it was a good race all day. We fought our way up there and bounced off the wall early in the day and then kind of had to soldier back on, but guys did a great job giving me a good piece, and we had something for them, but just not everything for them. We just didn't have a car that was capable of running with the top 2 guys. But 3rd was good. Can't thank everybody from Pizza Ranch enough, Z-Line Designs, and Also Energy Drink, Toyota. So glad we can bring home a solid day like that and turn the reins over to Michael and let him have at a road course next week.
A solid day indeed for Kyle Busch, but a share of the all-time win lead will have to wait at least a couple more weeks, Dave.
Elliott Sadler hoping to hang on to a share of the championship. He did that today, hangs on to 2nd, 2 points out. But 8th place, what happened at the end of the day, Elliott?
We short pitted that time, and the caution came out and caught us a lap down. I think we were running, 4th or 5th at the time, but One Main Financial Chevrolet is very fast, just like it was last week. We had a really competitive car. We just got caught unlucky break with the caution, so we had to come around, take the wave around, and fought our way, I think, from 17th back to 8th there the last 15 or 20 laps. So fast race car, just the luck wasn't with us today, but we're still hanging in there.
A couple of top 10s for KHI today, Alan.
Dave, thanks. And as you mentioned, Elliott Sadler 2 points behind Ricky Stenhouse in the Nationwide Championship as they head off to Road America next weekend. There it is. Little Father's Day moment in Victory Lane. How about that? Those pictures will get shown about 20 years from now, you think? We're back with more post-race from Michigan in a minute.
ESPN's coverage of the NASCAR Nationwide Series on ABC. Brought to you by Nationwide Insurance. Nationwide is on your side.
When this day began, we were talking about the importance of a Ford or a Chevy or a Dodge driver getting to Victory Lane today. Well, it has been a very good day for Ford. Ricky Stenhouse going into Victory Lane to congratulate Carl Edwards. It has been a dominant racetrack for Roush. They protected their own backyard.
Roush Fenway is clearly in a position of strength. All 3 cars in the top 5. Carl Edwards won the race because he was committed to the high side. He was rewarded for it because we had a 25-lap green flag run at the end. But Ricky Stenhouse has nothing to be ashamed of. He is separating himself from the rest of the field right now, Nicole.
A 1-2-5 finish for Roush Fenway. The third member of that team is standing by with Mike Massaro.
Trevor Bayne rounds out the top 5. And Trevor, off camera, we were having a discussion about how it seems like there's been a shift in the power balance. Joe Gibbs Racing no longer at the top, it would seem. Roush Fenway is now.
They have definitely picked up their game at Roush Fenway Racing, and Jack kind of promised that last year when I came over. He said next year our cars are going to be on it, and he's keeping his promises because these things have been pretty much unstoppable. Hopefully we'll be the ones sitting over there in Victory Lane where Carl is soon, but that was an awesome job to his team and to Ricky's team. They were battling it out up there pretty good, and I got a front row seat to watch it there, finishing 5th. So I'm really proud of all 3 teams coming home top 5 up here in Ford Country. You know, we got to go drive some of their product this week at the test track, and we can only go 80 miles an hour, but we got to go as fast as we wanted today, and we had a lot of fun at it.
And they made the most of it. Dave Burns is caught up with another top finisher today.
And Mark Martin ended up 7th this afternoon. A race that you led for a while, Mark. Where did the race go for you guys?
Well, we were a great effort by the Dollar General guys and everybody at Turner Motorsports. I really appreciate the opportunity to get to drive. Had some fun, had a good race car, but wasn't fast enough to take the win. But it was a good run for us and great effort. I really appreciate it.
I guess we see you one more time in the Nationwide, a chance to add to your win total in Kentucky?
Yeah, these things are hard to win, though, but we're going to race again. I really appreciate these guys giving me a chance to drive great stuff. It's a lot of fun.
Always great having Mark in the Nationwide Series.
Okay, we've got Joey here, and I'm looking.
Well, Jack Roush, everyone knows in your team that how important it is to win here, but why do you want to win at Michigan so much?
Well, Ford gave me my first job out of college, and I've got all the Ford exposure here. We had the CFO here today, and of course I've got 3,000 Roush Industries folks located in Livonia, Michigan, the greater Detroit area. There are a lot of them on the ground today.
Do you realize this is now your 21st combined win here between Trucks, Nationwide, and Sprint Cup at this one racetrack?
Well, I appreciate you bringing that to my attention, but it does make me feel very old. I remember the first win. It only seemed like yesterday.
What goes through your mind when you see all these drivers you have in your camp battling for the win? You got 1-2 finishes now, back-to-back 3 of the last 5 weeks, with Stenhouse and Carl Edwards.
Well, it's just great that the young folks are able to challenge Carl in the same parts with the same equipment. The cars are the new Mustangs are really great Nationwide cars, and they're very well driven. All of them are.
Hey, congratulations! Go celebrate.
Thank you very much.
Jack Roush, 21 wins at this one racetrack, 5th win now in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. Nicole?
And it has the potential to be a very good weekend for Jack Roush. A few years ago, it was Carl Edwards who swept the weekend here at this track. He's halfway there. The last time a driver swept, 2008. More from Michigan when we come back.
ESPN's coverage of Major League Baseball continues on Sunday and Monday night. First on Sunday Night Baseball at 8 Eastern, the Yankees head to Wrigley Field to take on the Cubs. Then on Monday Night Baseball at 7 Eastern, the Yankees continue their National League road trip in Cincinnati, where they'll face the Reds. Interleague play, both games part of the ALNL Showdown, presented by State Farm on ESPN Sunday and Monday. Available also online at ESPN3.com and on your phone. As Carl Edwards continues the post-race victory photos, let's talk to some more of the top finishers today. Shannon?
Well, Paul Menard started today on the pole. Good run for this 33 car. How was your day?
We had a really fast car. Obviously qualifying on the pole by quite a bit. Started off the race, we're way too tight. Did green flag pit stop, pulled the spring rubber, and car came to life. Just fought a track position. People cautions fell when we didn't need them to, and people did some strategies that kind of caught us behind. We got up front at one point, but we short pitted the last green flag run, and caution come out. We got the lucky dog, and we just had to pass too many cars. But really proud of my guys. The Ream and Art Chevy was fast. I think if we could have restarted up there the last time, we would have been with them. But it's a lot of fun coming up through there.
A good run for Paul Menard, and he will be back in this 33 car at Watkins Glen.
Car 2-0 with the Cars 2 paint scheme comes home 6th today. Joey, give us a perspective on the race from your side.
My guys did a really good job, I think. Pit crew was spectacular all day. They made good adjustments on our car to make it better throughout the race. I thought we may have had something. Those Fords are just really fast. They got a lot of motor. And, we were close on that last restart, and you start on the bottom. And it's just, one guy gets underneath you, and one's on the outside. And when two cars are door-to-door, the third car is such a run. And that's what happened, and I got shuffled back, never had any momentum. So I think I went all the way back to, 11th, 12th, I'm guessing, and I had to pass them back to get back to where we were. And a good race at Mark and Elliott there at the end. That was a lot of fun. I was coming and I was like, did I get him? So it was a lot of fun. It was a good job, my GameStop guys today. Just we need to find some more speed in our car somewhere. Not sure where it's at, but we need to find a little bit more.
Another top 10 for Logano.
All right, David, thank you. And we look ahead now with this NASCAR Nationwide Series to the 4-mile road course in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Next Saturday, Road America, then Daytona, Kentucky, New Hampshire, Nashville, Indianapolis, all upcoming races. If you'd like to join us at the track, tickets are available, NASCAR.com/tickets or the phone number on your screen. It's going to be some great action, and we hope that we'll see you at the races over the summer of 2011. Rusty and Andy, when we started a couple of hours ago the race, we said we expected it to be fun. What'd you think?
I thought it was really fun. I mean, especially off of that turn 2 I talked a lot about during the broadcast. We saw 4 and 5 racing off that corner. And it's an exciting day. I really thought Michigan did a great job putting this race on, and the drivers had a love today.
Yeah, it had a mix of everything, had a lot of strategy, a lot of drafting like we talked about, and it was just a great finish at the end with Carl tracking down Stenhouse, his teammate, to get the win.
And as far as next week for the Nationwide Series, like they used to say on the old Monty Python show, and now for something completely different.
Oh, big time. Road America. I am so excited to get out there. We saw the inaugural race up there last year. The cars flew up there. The NASCAR nationwide cars got around that road course very, very well. And I expect to see a great race next week. And it's a beautiful area, too. Right up there on the lake. Cool place to go to.
I love road course racing because there's just so many elements to it. You've got the strategy like we talked about here, but it's even more so at a road course. And the beating and banging and gears shifted. I mean, it is going to be a blast.
Former world champion Formula One racer Jacques Villeneuve going to be driving Roger Penske's 22 in that race. Carl Edwards, the defending champion of that race. That is next Saturday on ESPN. And this terrific fight for the championship in the NASCAR Nationwide Series will continue on that road course. Look at this. 3 drivers, 4 points. 4 drivers, 17 points at 1 point per finishing position. It's tight.
It is tight up there. You see Elliott Sadler still just 2 points back. That's where he started this race, but he's got somebody else up top he's chasing.
It's real tight, Andy, no doubt about that. But next week, that could scramble that whole thing up because there's some real good road racers going there. And there's some guys in the top of that heap that don't like road racing.
And that's one of those places you get off the course and get stuck in a gravel trap. You might be there for a while and finish way back. So terrific fight for the championship in the Nationwide Series. And again, it continues next Saturday afternoon at Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. What this Roush Fenway Racing team has done. We started the season, Kyle Busch won 5 of the first 9. Right now, Carl Edwards has won 4 of the last 10. The 1-2 sweeps we've talked about the last few weeks for the Roush Fenway team. What they've done to turn this program around, not just with their experienced driver, Carl, but with the younger drivers and dominate at the front of the pack.
I'll tell you one thing that Ford camp has done, they've put everybody to work. They've got a lot of teams wondering, what do we have to do to get faster? We heard Joey Logano saying we need speed somewhere. We don't know where it is, but it's going to put a lot of teams to work.
Well, I guarantee you one thing, because I've watched this before. The back of that NASCAR hauler down there, all the other manufacturers are going to be down there going, hey, I need more horsepower. This Ford is killing us. There's going to be a lot of complaining people down there because Roush Fenway right now is putting a whooping on these cats. And big time.
NASCAR's answer is going to be, we tested them all. They're within 1%.
And we'll
see if there's more testing
going on. Yeah, they're taking the engines out right now.
Yeah, as we speak. Yeah, as we speak, they're down. They're on pit road, pulling engines out of these cars, getting ready to take them back to Concord, North Carolina to be tested again.
Little drag racing on ESPN2, qualifying tonight at 7 Eastern from Bristol. The Tri-Cities Ford NHRA Thunder Valley Nationals, the finals tomorrow at 4:30 Eastern on ESPN2. NASCAR Now gets you ready for the Sprint Cup race here in Michigan, presented by 5 Hour Energy, 9 a.m. Eastern tomorrow morning. Then the Eyes on IndyCar Series race from the Milwaukee Mile here on ABC, 3:30 Eastern tomorrow afternoon. And next Saturday, as previously mentioned, the Bucyrus 200 for the Nationwide Series at Road America. That's at 5 Eastern next Saturday on ESPN. Well, here at the closest racetrack to the Detroit Big Three, it was Ford who came out on top. Carl Edwards leading a Ford 1-2 sweep, with Toyota finishing third, Chevrolet fourth, highest finishing Dodge came in ninth position. Carl Edwards, your winner this afternoon here at the Michigan International Speedway. Up next, ABC World News with David Muir, except on the West Coast. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Happy Father's Day weekend, a Father's Day celebration in Michigan's Victory Lane for Carl Edwards. So long.